Welcome to the third episode of Before You Say I Do Premarital Counseling series. Today, we will talk about personality. Remember, when God created woman, He made sure that she was a suitable partner. I think one of the easiest way to understand and see this is through our personality. People come in different forms, and as you understand your own personality type as well as your partner's, what this will do is enable you to weigh your own as well as your partner's strengths and areas of limitations. That is the first thing. The second thing is it will also allow you to see how you can blend your differences. That is the second one. Thirdly, you will be able to appreciate each other's uniqueness. And finally, what this will do is allow you to see what are the areas where you have common personality traits. This will be a very beneficial thing for your marriage. Now we know that after we get married, our personality differences becomes more real and it comes in full display. So what I want to do is I just want to read what Tim wrote about his wife, Bev, and his relationship. When I read this out from Tim's perspective, this will give you a sense, a feel of how personality difference comes into play in a marriage relationship. Beth and I are quite different. Initially, no matter what we did, we ended up preferring to do it in different ways. If we were planning a trip, she opted for the northern route, whereas I opted for the southern route. She plans in detail for weeks in advance. I tried to get as much work done right up until the last minute. She drives too slowly by my standards, and I drive too fast by her standards. I am a night person, she is a morning person. While shopping, she buys just what we need. I hate to waste my time going to the store without filling up the cart. In decision making, I am quick. She likes to think things through. These differences were opportunities for conflict if we became selfish, did not accept our spouse as a person with a different personality, and not willing to accommodate change or improving our relationship. We learned to be better together as a married couple. How? We decided that while driving, the one who holds the steering wheel will decide the speed and route. The other person keeps quiet. While traveling, Bev takes care of small details like carrying the map and does not accuse me for not having studied the map beforehand, because she got to know the person she married and understands that life is too short to waste quarreling about trivial things. Instead, she appreciates me for having been able to pick up for the treat in the short span of time. I drive at night and she takes over in the early hours. While it used to irritate her that I always brought home far more than the grocery list, she recognized my weakness as the price of not doing the shopping herself. It used to bug me when I confronted her with a decision and she said, "Let's think about it." But then I discovered that those days often saves time. By giving her time, she helps improve the idea. This is how in marriage, couples do better together. It is wise to study one's partner's likes, dislikes, strengths and weaknesses, and trying to avoid pushing in the weak areas. Instead, find ways to complement those differences. So, this is about Bev and Tim and how they worked out their personality differences for good. This is how it should be in a marriage relationship. Now the question is, then how do you know what is your personality type. There are many personality theories and many personality assessment tools. But what I usually do is I give MBTI personality assessment because this is very simple and easy for lay understanding, and it's also very practical. In MBTI, after you do your assessment, you will have a 4-letter which describes your personality. So there are 4 scales. The first scale is E and I. The second is F and N. The third is F and T. And finally, the fourth one is J and P. Those are the 4 scales. And through your assessment, there will be 4-letter word which describes you. Now, in MBTI, there are possibly 16 personality types. But the thing is, even if we have 10 people in the same row with the same personality type, you will still be unique and different from one another. Because we as individuals are different, our DNAs are unique. And so what we are looking out for is common traits and common cues about our personality. Now, let's talk briefly about those 4 scales that I just shared. The first one is E and I. So E stands for extrovert and I stands for introvert. This is where we derive our energy from. In a marriage, it could look something like this. Say like you are an introvert and your partner is an extrovert. So for introverts, they might prefer going on a very calm, quiet place for holidays. Whereas for the extroverts, they might prefer going to a very loud place, okay? So that's a very simple example. The second scale is S and N. S stands for sensing and N for intuition. So for S people, sensors, what can happen is like maybe for a sensor, they might want to go for an affordable car because that is what makes sense to them at the moment. But for a person with an N scale, which is higher, they might take the risk of even taking the loans and going for cars which are more expensive. Because with their N, with their intuition, they can foresee that that affordable car will be out in a very few span of time. So they don't want to take that risk. So it could look like that. Then the third one is F and T. So F is for feeling and T is for thinking. In a marriage relationship, what can happen is the person with F is being a feeler. They might hold on to grudges. They might feel more deeply when they have conflict in a marriage relationship. Whereas for a person with T trait, they might be the kind of person who just, when there is a conflict, yes, they are in that moment, they are discussing about those things, but then after some time, they get over it. They go on with their own normal things. So that's how that scale functions. And finally, when it comes to the 4th scale, which is J and P, someone with a J judging scale, which weighs more, might want to plan things way ahead of time. They like to get things done before the time arrives. But for a person with P, they might want to wait until the last moment to decide or to get the things done. So these are the 4 ways or scales where and how our personality traits come in display. Now, I'm just showing it in a very short moment, so it might be difficult for you to already get that. But when you come for your premarital counseling sessions, I help you to get your assessments done. And through your assessments, I enable you to understand what those scales stand for and then how will that come into play in your marriage relationship. So that's what we do. So as I mentioned earlier also, this knowledge, it really enlightens you. And in my in-session, what happens is sometimes we just witness like when we are talking about this personality traits, that's the moment when the man will say, oh, so this is why my fiance does things in this way. Or sometimes it's the lady, the woman who says, oh, so this is why my man does the things like this, or yes, he is this type of person. So it really helps us to understand ourselves as well as our partner, and this will enable you to understand one another better, to accept the other person as they are, or even to accept yourself as you are with your traits. And the good thing about this is you are able to know your area of limitations also. So when you become aware, then you're also able to work out on those areas of limitations to bring it to a healthier place. So this knowledge really does help. And in the next episode, we will be talking about communication and conflict resolution. Thank you for staying till the end. I will see you next week.